you've got the cope, which is the mould for the outside of the bell, and then you've got the core, which is the mould for the inside of the bell. And in each case, the material we use to make a mould is called loam. And loam is made up out of sand, clay, goat hair, horse manure, and water. And as you can tell from that formula, this is a formula they've been using for centuries. They've occasionally tried to use synthetic material for various bits, and it never works as well. So it's still, hence still the goat hair and the horse manure. So that's all mixed up in a mixer we've got that's also used in the bakery tray to make marzipan. And indeed, the consistency is very similar. Obviously, not as tasty. Right. So we build up the core and the cope are both built up with bricks. If you see the bricks in the background, they kind of build up bricks to get the basic shape on the inside of that, and indeed on there for lining. And then we throw the loam on top, and we use the strickle, which is, well, you can kind of, you can see on the core, you can see that the inside of the strickle is being used to form that shape. But the outside of it, upside down, when you turn it back and put it in there, that's used to form the other shape. So that's in essence the cross-section of the bell. We've got hundreds of them for different sized bells, also different profiles, because we've inherited the old profiles of old foundries that have gone bust, because every now and again somebody will have a ring of 6, 8, whatever, from say Warner's or some old one that's gone bust, and we can add to them. So if they want to make it from a 6 to an 8, we have the gauges to do it. So anyway, so you start off with that. It's dried in the drying oven, which is where you chaps will be standing. And it's dried progressively, because it takes about 2 weeks or so to make a full set of core and cope, and it's built up in levels. Each level is then dried, and they throw another level on and what have you. And obviously as it dries, it cracks, so they've got to fill it in with a knife, and eventually they get there. So when the two are made, the core is put over the cope, and they're closed very carefully. And when they do it, in order to get a good tight fit between the two of them, they will good seal. They will turn it like this, so that basically you're grinding them one on the other, just to get a good tight fit. And then on top of it, then you stick another box, and that box again more loam to make the riser and the pourer, because obviously you pour it on the one hole and the air rises up the other hole on the bigger bells. On the smaller bells, it just is a single hole. You just got to be a bit more careful with it. Let's say this is what you'll be seeing when we actually pour the metal. So when we actually have the pour the metal into the ladle, the crucible you can see there, we throw on coal, a lot of big bags of charcoal, just to keep the top hot, because you've got to keep the top hot. And then so what you'll be seeing is we throw on the coal. You'll see the crucible will then be moved across to a wheelbarrow, where we'll throw on another lot of stuff, which is a coagulant, because what that will do, it will bring together all the impurities, so they can then be skimmed off. So the whole lot will then be skimmed off into a barrow, and then you'll see us go along and pour the bells. There's the big bell for Inverness up there, and there's also about four or five smaller bells, so that's what we'll be doing. As for the foundry itself, it's kind of an interesting building. This is our new foundry. We've only been here since 1738. This is the third address. This is the third foundry we're aware of, because prior to that we were on a street called Essex Street that was about 200 yards that way. It doesn't exist anymore, the street. And prior to that, we were in the 1400s. We were somewhere over in Aldgate, but given that we don't have records on it, it's all a bit vague about precisely where we were. This building we moved to in 1738, but the building itself, if you look out in the yard when you go up there, you'll see a water tank, and there's a date on that water tank, which I think is 1670. Yeah, that's when the building was built, because the older parts of this building were originally a coaching inn called the Artichoke. And in fact, horses used to be led through the yard, and they would be parked in stables over there, all long since gone now. So that's the oldest part of the building, and it's changed a lot over the years. So bits have been added and changed and what have you. We cast our two most famous bells, of course, are Big Ben and the Liberty Bell. And in fact, where you see the metal being poured now, that's pretty much where the Liberty Bell was cast 250 years ago. And about another 20 yards that away from it is where Big Ben was cast. So the two bells were cast about 30 yards apart. Come to pouring the metal into the mold, you'll see something going into the metal at the back. the metal in a given bell, you'll see that we put powder on top that will flare up, because that's magnesium, and that will keep the top hot so that as the metal cools it can draw down more metal from the reservoir metal. especially if it's first.